Imagine a man stepping into a world of luxury cars, gleaming marble, million-dollar rides, and staff dripping with charm. But he's not in a suit. He's in a hoodie, sneakers, unnoticed. What they don't know, he's James Carver, the billionaire CEO who owns it all. Today, he's not here to buy. He's here to expose the truth. Beneath the glitz, arrogance festers, and judgment rules. Buckle up for a story of power, prejudice, and a reckoning that'll leave you questioning. Who really belongs? The showroom of Carver Luxury Motors in Beverly Hills gleamed like a billionaire's daydream. Sunlight streamed through towering glass walls, bathing a fleet of exotic cars in a golden glow. A pearl-white Bugatti Chiron sat on a rotating pedestal, its curves catching the light like a sculpted jewel. The air carried the faint scent of polished leather and high-end cologne, mingling with the hum of a custom sound system piping in ambient electronica. Marble tiles stretched across the floor, veined with gold flecks, while a massive chandelier of blown glass dangled overhead, refracting rainbows onto the walls. This wasn't just a dealership. It was a temple to wealth, a place where dreams rolled out on four wheels for those who could afford them. James Carver stepped through the automatic doors, his presence swallowed by the grandeur. At 45, he was the invisible architect of this empire, the CEO of Carver Automotive Group, a network of luxury dealerships spanning the U.S. Today, though, he didn't look the part. A faded black t-shirt hung loose on his broad frame, paired with scuffed sneakers and a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes. No tailored suit, no Breitling watch, just a man who might have wandered in off Rodeo Drive by mistake. But James hadn't come to buy. He'd come to watch. It started with a hunch. Over the past year, whispers had reached his corner office in downtown LA. Customer complaints about arrogance, uneven treatment, a culture souring at the edges. James didn't trust polished reports or PR spin. He trusted what he could see, hear, feel. Growing up black in Chicago's South Side, he'd learned early how people judged you before you opened your mouth. That fire had driven him to build this company from nothing. Now he needed to know if it still stood for something. He drifted toward a midnight blue Aston Martin DB11 AMR, its grille snarling quietly under the lights. A salesman, early 30s, sharp jaw, suit crisp as a new bill, passed within 5 feet. James cleared his throat. "Hey, what's the top speed on this one?" The guy, Tyler, according to his name tag, barely glanced over. His eyes skimmed James's outfit, lingering on the sneakers, and his mouth twitched into a half-smirk. 208, he muttered, already turning away. "You here with someone? Or just looking?" James raised an eyebrow, but Tyler didn't wait for an answer. He beelined for a woman in a Chanel skirt suit browsing a silver McLaren, his posture shifting, shoulders back, smile wide, voice dripping with charm. "Ma'am, this beauty's a work of art. Care to take her for a spin?" James tucked his hands into his pockets and moved on, a quiet storm brewing in his chest. He stopped by a matte black Rolls-Royce Cullinan, running a finger along its hood. Another associate, Samantha, mid-20s, blonde hair pulled into a tight bun, approached, her heels clicking like gunfire on the marble. She stopped short, her gaze flicking over him like a barcode scanner. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone flat, more challenge than offer. "Yeah," James said, keeping his voice even. "What's the lease rate on this?" Samantha's lips pursed. "Our clientele usually prefers to purchase outright," she said, folding her arms. "There's a used lot a few miles east if you're looking for something more affordable." She turned on her heel, dismissing him without a second thought. The slight hit like a jab to the ribs. James exhaled slowly, his jaw tightening. He'd been here before. Different places, same story. A kid in a hand-me-down coat ignored by store clerks. A young entrepreneur laughed out of boardrooms. He'd turned every snub into fuel, but seeing it here, in his house, that cut deeper. He lingered near a blood-red Ferrari SF90, watching the staff orbit a new arrival. A middle-aged white guy in a Brioni suit, Rolex glinting as he waved a hand. Tyler materialized with a leather portfolio. Samantha fetched a glass of sparkling water. A third associate, Derek, stocky and loud, cracked a joke, and the trio laughed like they'd rehearsed it. The customer soaked it up, basking in the attention, while James stood invisible 10 feet away. He tested them again. "Excuse me," he called to Derek, nodding at the Ferrari. "What's the horsepower?" Derek shot him a look, half annoyance, half pity. 789, he said, clipped and curt. "Look, buddy, we're busy here. Why don't you check the website?" He turned back to the suit, clapping him on the shoulder. "Sir, let's talk customization. Carbon fiber trim?" James's pulse quickened, but his face stayed stone. He'd seen enough. Arrogance, bias, a pecking order based on clothes and skin and swagger. It wasn't just bad service. It was a betrayal of everything he'd built. Time to pull the curtain back. He slipped his phone from his pocket, thumbing a contact. "Elena," he said, voice low. "It's me. Get to the Beverly Hills location. 15 minutes. He hung up and leaned against a wall, arms crossed, waiting for the reckoning. The minutes ticked by, tension coiling in the air. The staff buzzed around their chosen customers, oblivious to the shadow in their midst. Then the doors slid open, and Elena Vasquez strode in like a thunderclap. At 38, she was Carver Automotive's COO, 5'10" in a Navy power suit. Her dark hair swept back, her presence a force of nature. The room shifted. Tyler's head snapped up. Samantha's water glass froze mid-handoff. Derek's laugh died in his throat. "Ms. Vasquez," Tyler said, stepping forward, hands clasped. "We weren't expecting you. Can I—" "Where's James?" Elena cut in, her voice cool and commanding. Her eyes swept the showroom, landing on the man in the cap. She crossed the floor, heels echoing, and stopped beside him. "Boss," she said, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "You good?" The word detonated. "Boss?" Tyler's portfolio slipped an inch. Samantha's glass trembled. Derek's mouth hung open, a fish gasping for air. Whispers rippled through the staff, a wave of dawning horror. James straightened, pulling off his cap. His face emerged, strong jaw, deep-set eyes, a faint scar tracing his temple from a street fight decades ago. Recognition hit like a freight train. James Carver, the James Carver, billionaire, visionary, the man whose name was etched on the building. "Surprised," he said, his voice steady but laced with iron. He stepped into the center of the room, the staff shrinking under his gaze. "I've been here all morning, asked about cars, asked about terms. You know what I got? Sneers, brush-offs, a suggestion to shop somewhere else, like I don't belong in my own damn dealership." Tyler paled, stammering. "Mr. Carver, I didn't know it was you." "Didn't know?" James's laugh was sharp, humorless. "That's the point, Tyler. You didn't need to know. I could have been anyone. A teacher, a mechanic, a first-time buyer with cash in the bank. But you saw the clothes, the cap, maybe the color of my skin, and decided I wasn't worth your time. Samantha clutched her clipboard, eyes darting. Sir, it was a mistake. We're trained to prioritize. Prioritize what? James snapped, his tone rising like a tide. Money? Status? Some guy who looks like he stepped out of a yacht club? I watched you fawn over him. He nodded at the Brioni guy, now frozen mid-sip. While you treated me like dirt. That's not training. That's prejudice. Derek stepped forward, hands up. Mr. Carver, please. It's not about race or anything like that. Don't, James said, his voice dropping to a dangerous calm. Don't stand there and tell me what I've seen my whole life. I grew up with nothing, less than nothing. Fought for every dime, every chance, while people like you looked past me. I built this company so no one else would feel that way walking through these doors, and you've turned it into a country club. The room went silent, the electronica pulsing like a heartbeat. Elena stood at his shoulder, her presence a quiet amplifier. The staff stared, pinned by his words, their excuses crumbling. You're done, James said, pointing at Tyler, Samantha, and Derek in turn. All three of you. Clean out your desks. You're fired. Tyler's face crumpled. Sir, please. No, James said, final as a gavel. You don't get a second chance to disrespect what this place stands for. Get out. Elena nodded to a security guard by the door, who stepped forward. The trio hesitated, then shuffled toward the back, heads down, the weight of their choices dragging behind them. The remaining staff stood rooted, eyes wide, the air thick with shock. James turned to them, his voice softening but firm. This isn't just about them. It's about all of you. Every customer, every single one deserves respect. Black, white, rich, poor, suit or sweats. You forget that, you're out. I don't care how good your numbers are. This company isn't just about profit. It's about people. Fix it. Prove it. Or I'll tear this place down and start over. He didn't wait for nods or murmurs. He strode toward the exit, Elena falling in step. Outside, a valet scrambled to retrieve his car, a gunmetal gray Porsche 9111 Turbo S, its engine purring like a caged beast. James slid into the driver's seat, the door closing with a solid thunk. Through the tinted window he saw them, Tyler, Samantha, and Derek emerging with boxes, faces blank. The others milled inside, whispering, recalibrating. He pulled onto Wilshire Boulevard, the LA skyline rising ahead, glass towers piercing the haze, palm trees swaying in the breeze. The city pulsed around him, a million stories unfolding in its veins. James gripped the wheel, his mind turning. He'd cut out the rot today. But how much lingered? In his company, in the world. Bias wasn't a single fight. It was a war, fought in glances, words, silences. The Porsche roared past a billboard, some glossy ad for luxury living, and James thought of the kid he'd been, the one nobody bet on. He'd won this round, sent a message rippling through his empire. But the story didn't end here. Tomorrow, he'd watch again, dig deeper. Because change didn't come from one showdown. It came from relentless, quiet fury. Inside the dealership, the staff stood in a huddle, the pedestal Bugatti spinning slowly behind them. A new customer stepped through the doors, jeans, hoodie, hesitant, and a young associate paused, then approached with a smile. Outside, the Porsche vanished into traffic, leaving echoes of a lesson carved in marble and glass. The world turned on, flawed but shifting, one choice at a time.